Party people in the place to be. What's going on? It's me, and I just got finished watching Judas and the Black Messiah, and it's not a long overdue movie review because the movie's out, but not too far out. As a matter of fact, if you're on HBO Max, it's apparently going to be gone on the 14th of March for some reason. But in any event, I watched it, and it is a very interesting take. So I want to go and say, no spoilers, but it's a historical, it's a biopic, so it's about historical shit that actually took place. Mind you, not a lot of people actually know about the historic things that took place in this movie. So I'll try to do spoiler free for the sake of in whatever context I can. So Lakeith Stanfield plays Bill O'Neill, FBI informant who snuck into the Black Panther Party and infiltrated and leaked shit to the feds. Daniel Kaluuya, I'll never get his name. Maybe I will one day. Plays Chairman Fred Hampton, and we bypass a lot of the early formation of the Panther Party in this movie, and it talks about, really, it spends the emphasis of the time talking about the last days of not really the Black Panther Party, the last days of Fred Hampton, and how infiltrating the Black Panther Party affects Bill O'Neill, played by Lakeith Stanfield. That's the spoiler-free portion. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so a little bit about this. As far as performances are concerned, Daniel Kaluuya, amazing. Dominique Fishback is her name, plays Deborah Johnson, and she is quite amazing, actually. She's very good, very, very grounded, very good actress. Takes up the space on the screen in that, it's hard, not to look at her and see her performance and feel what she's doing in said performance. Jesse Plemons, Jesus fucking Christ, Jesse Plemons. It's always Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, I think, is going to be the new standby racist white guy in movies. He's just so pasty and fits the era of, when you're talking about period pieces. He just fits that so well. And he plays the FBI informant who catches the FBI guy who puts Bill O'Neill in the Panthers to tear them down. President Jed Bartlett, aka Martin Sheen, plays J. Edgar Hoover in this. No, not in the dress, but he's in it nonetheless. The performances, like I said, were very good. This is another Lakeith Stanfield performance I'm conflicted about. The right up there with his bitten Death Note, the Netflix debacle, where he was easily the best part of it, but I'm still conflicted by that. I've got conflicting feelings about his performance here too. Daniel Aiello, though, and or Kalia, and Dominique Fishback, not so much. They pull in great performances, and Dominique, this should be a vehicle for her to help propel the rest of her career. I don't know that it will be, given every circumstance that we have going on right now, but it should be. She's very, very good in this movie. Very, very good in that role. And I believe her, and I believe the love story between her and Chairman Fred. I believe that. I believe the chemistry that they have on screen. So that should be a good performance, or star-making performance from her. Let's see. That's the end of spoiler free. Come back to whatever notes when you get spoiler free. All right, so Bill O'Neill's infiltration of the Black Panther Party basically kills Fred Hampton, and the majority of this movie is a lot like is focused on Bill O'Neill. And here's where the conflict comes in, because I see what it's trying to do. Like, it's treading the line of a few different. It's living up to its title. It's Judas and the Black Messiah. So it's living up to its title of these other movies about the last days of Jesus Christ and Judas and the conflicts that Judas would have with, or at least the conflicts that the writers of those particular movies um, decide to explore in their versions of Judas in each one of these iterations of the last days of Jesus Christ. And it's kind of the same here. You see, it really is kind of played the same way. You see the very beginnings, not the very beginnings, but you see, the beginnings of Fred Hampton and his idea for the cause, and it trying to take root, but not necessarily taking root. And then at a certain, and he's getting the attention of the Romans, or in this case the FBI, and they don't like that, so they start watching him and who is this Messiah guy, etc., etc. And then but they take care of all the beginnings of it very quickly, right? Just like with the story of Jesus. A lot of the times with the story of Jesus, matter of fact, most of the time you hear about his birth, his just before his birth, his conception, his birth, he's born, then you don't hear about him again for however many years. You don't hear about him again for however many years until he's ready to die, right? So that's kind of what we got here with this movie: the beginnings, and then one to skip a few, where now the Black Panthers is big thing, and they go in. They don't go into the details of of everything, and exactly how they rose to power. They touch on it. They built coalitions between different people. The struggle wasn't about race; it was about class, which we can have that discussion. But we're not right now. We're just talking about the movie, and they touch on that, but they're very fast to go ahead and skip that because they got a lot to cover with Lakeith Stanfield's Bill O'Neill. Here's where my conflict in this movie comes in. How could no one tell that that nigga was lying? Like, so Lakeith's portrayal of him is very obvious. It's very evident. He's very shifty. He's not, he's very outside them. I don't, it's hard. Like, they have montage, like when they burn down the Black Panther headquarters, and they talk about, oh, he was living there to help rebuild it, and he was the first one there, and he was doing all this stuff to help rebuild it, etc., etc. He spent all his time there trying to rebuild it, and he was directing everybody to rebuild it. Okay, but every time anybody spoke to him, he was shifty. Like, his performance, his portrayal of it, like he was dripping this. I don't even know if it was a conflict. He was dripping this, I'm living a duplicitous double life thing here. He was dripping this, y'all shouldn't really trust me shit. Like, he oozed that. And as good as Lakeith Stanfield is, and as much as Lakeith Stanfield had to go through, or went through, I don't even know, he did go through um mentally with this particular role. And we all know Brother Lakeith has been dealing with his issues, and I hope that he gets his mental where he needs it to be to continue to live a happy life. We all have had issues with that shit. God knows I have. But it comes, you can see, I don't know how much of that is Bill, his character, and how much of that is Lakeith with this dealing with this mindset. How much of that how much he tried to be, do the method thing and get into the head of Bill, and didn't like it there, and I don't know how much of that. I don't know. I don't know if he went too far deep in it and it came out that way, and I'm not sure. But it's hard to believe him escalating the ranks that he did in that organization, because the portrayal of everybody else is fairly genuine within the Black Panther side of things in the movie. He's clearly not, and so it's it's a weird thing. Like, it's almost like they were trying to go for a Departed feel. Lakeith's performance is I don't know how I feel about it. I'm conflicted. Like, part of me is it's too much. Part of me is I can see the talent in him and what he was doing. And this is kind of the same thing I had with him in the Death Note movie, part of it was very spot on. Like he had the mannerisms and stuff, but part of it was this weird sort of nebulous zone he inhabited as well on the screen, which stood out because he was doing the best acting out of anybody. So, and I'm a Lakeith Stanfield fan anyway. So I don't know, and that kind of bled forth here too. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure about that. Like by the time they have a shootout at another base, and like Heath is trying to sneak out, I expect that at that point, knowing that he's the rat character, his level of panic to be at a peak at that point in the movie versus where it was every other part of the movie. Except he kind of starts at 9 his panic and like in the anxious panic zone and just fluctuates between 10 and 9 the rest of the movie. And so it's not, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. It's I mean, nobody in this movie gives a bad performance. Everybody gives a good performance at the very least. Martin Sheen can do this shit in his sleep. Fucking even Lil Rel Howery, who is good in small doses, is in this movie in small doses. And even it was kind of cheesy how they did the thing where, because Lakeith Stanfield at the beginning uses a fake FBI badge to try to rob a car and gets caught, and that's how he becomes an informant. And at the end, he's like, he's telling Lil Rel Howery, if you're with the FBI, show me some ID. And Lil Rel gives him his original FBI badge. I guess it's like he wouldn't have the original, like he wouldn't have, you know what I mean? Because that's evidence, in the leverage that they have over Lakeith in order to quote unquote make him infiltrate. I don't know. Lakeith Stanfield's performance is I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Everybody else is very good in this. Out of $15, I mean, you just got to watch it. Part of and here's an interesting thing. So with Fred Hampton's death, instead of, and it's a violent, we all know, violent shootout, got, just ridiculous amount of bullets flying everywhere, dead of night, everybody's asleep, shooting at the bed that he was sleeping at with his 8-month pregnant wife. Normally in a biopic like this, the death of the hero would be a very dramatic thing. We would have different angles of the death. We would see different shots of his eyes opening and and he would do the deep, the shallow breaths and all that stuff and all the typical Hollywood death of the biopic hero, violent death of the biopic hero things. This one is different and probably deeper because you don't see that. Because what you see instead, Fred Hampton was asleep. He just doesn't wake up. The violence is all around him. He just doesn't wake up. They're shooting into the room. His wife Deborah's on top of him. And they're shooting around them. And he just doesn't wake up. That's it. That's deeper, I think. And the way they pulled it off was good. They have the different. You see the different shots. You see people getting shot and all this other stuff. You hear the fire. I don't even know if there was a score underneath it. I don't even think there was a score. I think they went with just the naked imagery of what happened. They just went with the naked gunshots and racial slurs from the racist ass cops that came in there and shot everybody. Yeah. Yeah. That's a different way of doing it. It's very poignant how you do it, how they did it. It's very real how they did it. They showed the aftermath, people trying to get to their feet and their legs were all shot up, but they still had to put their weight on those shot up legs to walk out to surrender. Otherwise, they were going to get shot up some more. Yeah. Yeah. Brutal. I haven't talked much about Martin Sheen here. He would give the most over the top performance here as J. Edgar Hoover, except for Lakeith Stanfield, right? His J. Edgar would be the most over the top. And I think the slightly least Martin Sheen. Like, it's still his voice, but he doesn't do the accent that he normally does. You know, like he's got that Sheenism part of it, and the gruffness the gruffness in his voice. Charlie, right? But he doesn't put on any particular accents that I can hear other than Martin Sheen. There is a scene him and Jesse Plemons and I keep wanting to call him Jesse from fucking Breaking Bad. That's why I keep having to look over at his name. Jesse Plemons is in his office, and he's trying to encourage Jesse Plemons to continue with this infiltration. And he's like, "You have an 8-month-old daughter. What would happen if she brought home a Negro?" This very uncomfortable scene, etc., etc., etc. I almost forgot about that scene because of everything else that happens in this movie. It's supposed to give an idea of the mindset of these guys, and very early on, you see Jesse Plemons in a meeting conducted by J. Edgar, where he's talking about how the Black Panther Party, is just as our biggest enemy, the America's biggest enemy, bigger than China, bigger than Russia, even, that type of stuff. So that's supposed to take you in that mindset of those types of people. You don't stay in their mindsets for entirely too long, though, because you're mostly, and you're not even in Fred Hampton's mindset for all that long. Probably the two biggest people in this movie whose mindsets you're in are Bill O'Neill's, played by Lakeith Stanfield, and Deborah Johnson, played by Dominique Fishback. Really? Like, Hampton, you see Hampton do things, but you're more into the headspace of, at least I connected more into the headspace of Deborah Johnson and Lakeith's character. Lakeith's because he was eating up a little scenery, but and a lot of the time was spent on him. But Deborah Johnson's because she just radiated this connection, and her and Daniel, they just radiated this connection that they had with each other, which was pretty good. Out of $15, Judas and the Black Messiah is worth, I'll say $13.50. I'll say $13.50. Here's why. It's not it's not the perfect movie. But it's not really anything. There's not really much wrong with it either. The only reason it's really $13.50 is Lakeith's slightly confusing performance. Now, mind you, the guy, and I kind of understand why he would go that way. The actual guy, Bill O'Neill, commits suicide. He has a documentary made about him, and then the day it airs in 1990, January 15th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and mine, he commits suicide. So shit. So that tells you the real life guy's mindset at the end of it. So I can see why he would maybe want to go into these sort of darker places and examine his mentality going through something like that. But I don't want to say it was cumbersome. It was I don't know. Maybe I'd have to watch it again and sort of see how much I connect with it a second time. But this first, again, like I said, I just didn't believe that anybody else believed him. Again, we saw the montages of him working, but like when he was talking and having conversations with anybody, it's hard to believe that anybody there believed him. So that kind of threw me a little bit. Yeah, so that's why it's 1350. I was very close to it being like 14, but I'm too confused by Lakeith Stanfield's performance. Party people, I need to know what you think. Judas and the Black Messiah. It's on HBO Max right now. Have you seen it? You should. It's a good movie. I suggest taking a look at it. At the very least, for the historical value of it, for knowing at least a little bit more about the Black Panthers and Chairman Fred. But yeah. Have you seen it? Tell me what you think down there in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. Mostly like and share. I'm your favorite YouTuber after all. Yo ass better tell somebody. With the share button is where you go. Also on Thursdays, the How Do We Even Get Here podcast on all streaming platforms, major ones at least. I don't know if there's a minor one that we don't know about yet, but we're on all the major ones: Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc. And here on the YouTubes, tinyurl.com/getHereTube. tinyurl.com/getHereTube is where you go to check us out. We drop new pods every Thursday. And until next time, salute.
I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice place, with a nice smile on my nice face. Turn it back and I'm making sure my night's straight. And when you're out of town, I'll be making sure your wife's straight.